Good evening, YouTube. We're going to go over something a little different tonight, and that's going to be how to refinish a set of wooden grips using Tru-Oil, Birchwood Casey Tru-Oil. And these are a set of grips from my Smith & Wesson Model 39. I just got them. I test fitted them before I put them on the gun, or before I decided to finish them. I tested them on the gun to make sure everything fit before I put a finish on them. And this is the finish they came with, which wasn't much of one. There really wasn't a finish here. So what I did is I went over them with 4-aught steel wool to get everything prepared, just to smooth them out and open up some of the pores. And now we're going to use Tru-Oil. And how many coats of Tru-Oil, it's up to you to use, to want to use them, to want to get your shine. The more coats you put on, the shinier your finish is going to be. And you can do this with, you don't have to even do this with a gun stock, you can do this with a piece of wood. I've done that with decorative furniture, things like that. What I did was I taped these on here. I've got these masking tape to this piece of paper. And what you do is you take a piece of white cloth, this just happens to be an old t-shirt, get it good and soaked. You don't need a lot more than just like this. And you're going to just take and rub this on, and the secret's going to be just to get it where you see where it's glossy. Cover that whole thing. Now don't worry if you get a little bit of, if you get anything on this right now, because you're going to be steel wooling this anyways. And you just go all over the whole thing. Make sure that you cover the whole grip, down the sides, everything. Okay, you can see how nice and dark that is. And probably not the best view for it, but I'll show it to you a little better in a minute. And just go over it. And you're gonna just cover the grip nicely. Okay. You're going to go over the whole piece of wood until it's covered. Make sure you get all the sides and everything. All little nooks and crannies. It's like on a rifle stock too. You're going to make sure if you do it like this, you get everything. And make sure you go in one direction. It's a little harder to do this and film it at the same time than normal, but you'll get the idea. Okay, and you get that good and covered. Okay, you get it good and covered. And what we're going to do now is you're going to let it dry for a while. But you can kind of see, let me get this out by the way of the shadow. You can kind of see here, even though it's sideways, you can see how that came out. And what you're going to do is you're just going to let that dry. And give it a good like 2 hours before you come back and mess with it. And then 2 hours, I'll show you how to buff it out with steel wool, and you'll add another coat. See you then. Hello YouTube, back with the redoing the Smith & Wesson 39 grips with Tru-Oil, and we've gone through the first coat. And what I'm going to do now is, now that you see there's a little bit glossy to them, this is pretty much dry. You're going to take your steel wool, 4-aught steel wool, and just do this with it. Just go over it, and you're just trying to just gently buff this out. It'll get a little dull, but that's fine. And you'll be able to feel where it's starting to smooth out some. And you'll see it's kind of getting a nice little shine to it. And if you don't want a really deep shine, 2 or 3 coats, just doing this, you know, you'll see where you can, you'll just get a decent little shine to it, depending on how much you want. Just go over it, and you're going to go on and take it. I find this is easier for me to do it like this. Just take it. That's all you're doing, is just lightly buffing it. You're not trying to sand anything. You're just trying to buff this. And probably the best thing to do too is once you get the tops of this done, is to go through and pull this off and go down the side just very gently, just like this. And I'll show you one thing you can do to get some of this. You can use a tack cloth to get some of the residue for the steel wool out, but I found an easier way is to just take a piece of masking tape, roll it up, and just go over it like this where you've been in the steel wool, and you'll see where it's picking up any of the sanding residue or the steel wool, because you don't want that in your finish. And I do that 2 or 3 times, and that takes care of it. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through and do this for as many coats as you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this process a couple of times, and I'm going to come back and show you the finished product before they go on the gun and after they're on the gun. So stay tuned. Well, here we go, YouTube. Here is the finished product. Here are the grips on the Model 39. I went with 4 coats, and I dulled it down a little bit because one, it was smooth enough that I didn't want to have it any smoother to the point where it'd be hard to grab a hold of. And I can tell you that these grips do give it a nice little bit of a palm swell, where I imagine it'll probably help out some with shooting. 9mm does not have a lot of recoil, so especially in this gun. But here it is again. This is 4 coats of Tru-Oil. And remember what the grips looked like when we first got them. We'll put up a picture to show you what they were like when I got them right from the box in the mail. And again, these were grips that they were fairly inexpensive. I paid right around $20, a little more than $20 or so for them online, secondhand. I can't even tell you the company that made them. There was no markings on the box, or a guy was selling them secondhand, and they were cheaper than Pachmeyer rubber grips. So put a little bit of extra effort into them, a little bit of time, and you can have a nice looking gun just like this. You can have nice looking grips on your gun. They don't have to be really expensive. They don't have to be super expensive. You can find nice used grips a lot of times for handguns like this. And just take your time and think out how you want to refinish things. You know, if you I don't recommend spray painting things at all possible. I've spray painted 1 or 2 guns. Duracoat is one thing, but just go and get a can of Krylon or Rust-Oleum or something and spray paint a gun. That's all something different. So just be careful how you do things, and take your time and plan things out, and things will come out right. So here again, guys, and gals, is how to refinish a set of wood grips with a little bit of time and some Tru-Oil. And you can find that pretty much online anywhere. You can find it at the gun shops. I know Walmart was carrying it for a while. You might be able to find it there too. But again, nothing more than Birchwood Casey Tru-Oil and a little bit of steel wool, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. And you too can have it. Works great on rifle stocks too. And any other piece of wood you got that you want to refinish. So, have a good evening.